Hey, this is Jason Morris with Real Estate Agents That Really Work, and I'm on the phone today with Aaron Weinstein. And God, I think most everybody listening to this probably already knows you, Aaron. But how about if you go ahead and give just a 90-second introduction?
Okay. Well, first of all, even though you have like one of the best voices in the entire world, it's Wittenstein. But don't worry, because I've been called much worse. It's all good. I've been called a hell of a lot worse, so you're good, baby. Don't even worry about it.
I will butcher people's names.
It's fine. It's fine. That's why when I do my expired scripts, I ask for, can I speak with the homeowner of blah, 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 blah. So that way I can't ask for a dead person and I can't butcher somebody's names. So, but don't even worry about it, man. Your voice alone, you could tell me, like, Aaron, I hate you, and I would still love you just by your tonality alone. So, okay, so where were we?
So, yeah, how about introduce yourself and tell the people that don't know who you are. I mean, I think you're a celebrity. I feel like I'm interviewing a celebrity, and my celebrity status just went up by being on the call with you. But for the people that don't know who you are, tell a little bit about yourself.
All right, quick rundown. I'm far from a celebrity. I basically was an agent in Illinois. Started when I was 19. I was an agent there for 12 years. I moved to New York because my wife is originally from New York. We have a 4-year-old. Now he's a 4-year-old. He was 2, a little less than 2 at that point, to be closer to her family because my family in Illinois was kind of spread out. I moved here January 25th of 2013, really started November 1st of 2013. Within 2 years, I went to from 0 to a little less than 15 million pending and closed, working expired listings. About 90% of my business at that point was expired listings. I don't work evenings. I don't work Sundays. I work some Saturdays. And I'm probably no different than most of the people that are calling, even though people think I'm a celebrity. It's just because I go live on my Facebook group. But I'm in the trenches every day. So, I mean, I don't have a huge team. I'm in the trenches, and I am building a business just like probably everybody who's listening to this thing. So.
And, you know, I like that, man. I tell people all the time, they'll ask me, they say, hey, well, will you prospect live for us? And I'm going, you know, I don't know if I have the self-confidence to prospect live. I mean, I admire that you and Greg McDaniel, you guys get on there and you do it consistently. It's pretty amazing.
Here's what I will say is it wasn't planned. Honestly, I was going through a really, really rough time. I suffer from really bad anxiety. So, like, you know, where, like, your mind goes in, like, really weird places, and I had a difficult time focusing, and I saw the Facebook Live button, and I'm like, well, I really don't want to call today, but if I have 10 people watching me, I guess I have to do a good job. So next thing I know, on the first view, we've got like 3,000 people watching the video. And then, you know, I mainly did it just for accountability. I didn't do it with the intent of helping everybody out. And still now when I do it, it's for the intent of accountability. And in turn, I mean, I go to trainings and people are like, I listen to you while you're in the shower. And I'm like, that's just kind of creepy.
That's weird. You know, I tell people that too. I mean, my group, Real Estate Agents That Really Work, I mean, I honestly, I mean, man, I really didn't start that for everybody else. Honestly, I kind of started it for me. I was sharing a lot of groups, and I ended up going, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to invite the 25 people I'm interacting with all the time, and anyway, and it just kind of grew. But you guys have an amazing audience.
That's one of those things I wish I could say was done purposefully as well. That was totally done haphazardly. At the time, my wife was pregnant with twins. And do you have kids or no?
No, I don't have any kids. I got a dog instead.
That's much easier. I was sleep training my he was 2.5 or 3 at that point. So I was up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, someone was messaging me I need a script partner. So I need a role play partner. And then I'm like, well, it'd be cool if we had a place where people could ask an objection and to be, answered by like a couple of people. And the next thing I know, I created that thing. Within like 3 days, we had 3,000 people. Now we're up to like 30,000. It's pretty crazy. So
that's amazing. Well, man, I want to go back to one thing you said. You know, I know I have agents tell me all the time, I'm sure you do too, they talk about, you know, their problems and, you know, the fear of getting on the phone and stuff. But you said that you suffer from anxiety on top of it.
Not phone anxiety. I don't suffer from phone anxiety. I suffer from anxiety where, for example, let's say that you have a deal fall apart. Like, if I let my mind go, next thing you know, I'll be looking, like, no matter how many listings I have, I will be double-checking to make sure I have enough money for the next 6 months, and I'll double-check and see if there's any other jobs out there, just in case.
Dude, I do stuff like that too, man. I always feel like I'm broke.
I do.
And I know I'm not. I mean,
I know. Me too.
I got money in the bank.
I know. I feel the same way. So that's something that I'm working on. But you know, I think a lot of people out there, they suffer from anxiety or depression or anything like that. So you know, it's you're not alone.
Yeah, all of us have. You know, I tell people that all the time, man. All of us have problems, and all of us have crazy issues, and only God knows what. I mean, one of the guys that was the best guy I ever worked with, as far as, like, you know, listening to him on the phone and him making calls and setting appointments and getting listings. I mean, this guy was he's like a Mike Ferry superstar back in like '04, and guy listed properties like crazy. And then as I got to know him, I learned that he had a severe obsessive compulsive disorder. He was a manic depressant. I mean, he had like a list of things that he's like highly medicated.
Yeah.
And sometimes he would just flip out on people for like no apparent reason. It was crazy, but man, he was so good at being an agent. He eventually quit because he said he couldn't take working with the general public anymore.
I will not say anything about that.
So what are you on track this year? How much are you on track this year to close?
This year I should do like closed, like before it was like pending and closed 15 million, so it came out to be like 12 million closed. This year we should hit between around like 15 million, give or take, and that's just all production on my own. Last year I had a team. I had no business running a team, so I broke it all down. So it's pretty much me. I'm the only salesperson, 100% listing based. I refer all my buyer leads out to a mega team here, and a virtual ISA, a virtual listing / closing coordinator. So.
Yeah, I'm the same way, man. I mean, I have buyer's agents, and I generate leads for them. But you know, as far as like having that big team, I just got really burnt out on running the big team and dealing with it, dealing with all the costs involved and just all this stuff. I mean, and honestly, my biggest years when I had a team, I really wasn't making the money people thought I did. I mean, honestly, I was kind of, I had transactions. I know I was losing money sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, what happens is that people, you know, and I'm not knocking teams. Teams are great. I am in the process of building it. I just wasn't ready at the time to do it. I can't get to 100 million on my own. I can get to 100 million with a team. It's just, you know, it's different because it's different when you relate to a person who's in the grind rather than someone who's doing the management. So, I mean, I'm in the grind every day doing this just like you are. So,
of course. Well, man, you said that you mentioned that you were in Illinois for 12 years, and then you made a big move. You went from Illinois to New York.
Yeah.
And how did you make that transition in transition markets? I hear that kind of often, agents thinking about changing markets or changing, you know, relocating somewhere else.
It's actually a pretty cool opportunity because if you look at it, I had 12 years of experience that I was able to move somewhere else with no preconceived notions, start from scratch with 12 years of experience behind my belt. The best advice that I can give everyone is that you need to start the process a year ahead of time. If you know you're going to move, a year before you move, you need to pick out an office that you're going to work for. You need to get your license. And then 6 months prior to the move, this is what I did. I shut down my lead generation source in Illinois. I just worked with existing, because we all know that whatever work you do is 90 days later. And then what I started doing was lead generating for New York 6 months prior to my move. So that way at that point, all I knew was buyers. I was building a buyer-based business. So I was lead generating for buyers. If anything came up, I would give it to another agent. Then we had a nice referral split. And then I had a database. And it's like, ironically, the first internet lead that I ever created for New York bought my first listing that I got in New York. So
that's pretty cool, man.
Worked out. So yeah, it's pretty funny.
So you started a year early.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Now, if somebody else is making that change, and would you recommend them? Should they go to a franchise? How should they find that first office in that new place?
I think you need, because the issue that I had here, I interviewed like 20 different offices. I'm a Keller Williams agent. Okay, I've always been raised on Keller Williams culture. I was always a big fan. I just didn't like the leadership in Illinois. So basically, when it came here, I met with about 10 different offices. I decided to go with Keller Williams because I really like the office versus They have this company called Houlihan Lawrence, which is, I'm in a very affluent area, is where I moved to. And this company does a ton of business, but the model just didn't fit me. So you got to go with whatever model fits you best. And you're the only one that can make a decision on that. So.
Yeah, I'm the same way. When I was looking at changing office a while back, because got 3 months ago, I was at Better Homes and Gardens. And I liked Better Homes and Gardens. I liked the brand, but man, my office manager, he had some health problems and moved to be closer to family. Then my broker in charge died like 3 weeks later. And once that happened, the leadership changed, the office dynamics changed. It was and I mean, I went to EXP just because I liked the leadership. I liked the people that were there. I liked that they were innovative. You know what I mean? But you mentioned that when you moved there, you're more of a buyer-based business. So when did you actually start making calls and going after more listings?
Well, I was always a buyer-based agent, so I would do like 80% of my business buyer-based. And keep in mind, when I was in Illinois, I was still only working, I wasn't working evenings, I wasn't working Sundays, so it is possible. That's like a whole different phone call on how to handle that. But Dave Jenks was in our office training. If you guys don't know who he is, he was co-author of The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. And he was mentioning an agent by the name of Russell Shaw, who is still a big agent in the Arizona, I believe, Phoenix area, who basically said, I quit working with buyers. I'm going to go listing-based. And it kind of like you have that aha moment. I'm like, yeah, because the thing is that I could run around with buyers, and a buyer's going to take me 20 hours to sell, or I can just list property, and it's like a quarter of the amount of time, and I can sell a listing while I'm on vacation. I can't sell a buyer while I'm on vacation.
Yeah, I keep telling people that too, man. Me and my girlfriend, we went on a cruise. This was, I guess, earlier this year, and man, we were taking and we were hanging out. We were on the boat. And we paid for internet access. Man, I got 3 contracts that week. I was in the Caribbean. I mean, it's fantastic. Everybody was still showing my listings. Everybody was still working except for me, and you can't really do that with buyers. So the Millionaire Real Estate, Dave Jenks is the one that made you make that change.
It wasn't him. It was listening to the story of somebody else. And it just kind of clicked, where things just kind of hit at the right moment. And then, I mean, keep in mind, when I moved here, most people have heard this story. I mean, I didn't have any money. I was living in my in-laws' basement, with my kid. And I started lead generating in November of 2013 every day, like upwards of like 10 hours a day. I'm being serious, for expired listings. I didn't take a listing for 3 months, but it was either February or March, I took 8 listings that month. For my area, it's an average price point of like $500,000. So, it was pretty cool.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so one listing's kind of a big deal. So, yeah, my market.
Not with the cost of living.
I understand. See, my market, I mean, our price point's so low. Average price point's probably $150,000, $165,000, where most of the business is closer to $100,000. It seems like. I mean, to hit the numbers and hit my goals as far as income, man, I have to do a lot of deals. So when people look at me and they go, oh, you listed 15 properties last month or 18 properties, you go, dude, unless I want to stop paying on something, I had to list that many.
Well, so you have the ability. I mean, here there's not as many homes, and we're in a very attorney-driven state where everybody's like, oh, you sell a $500,000 house, it's all good. Put it this way. It takes me 5 months to close a deal, and the best example I can give you is that contracts, deals aren't fully executed until the attorneys have negotiated and agreed upon the contracts. So we agree today that we're going to buy a house. A month from now, we may actually have a firm deal. So what will happen, I have a property, I sold this property 7 times.
Oh, my God.
So people are like, hey, you sell $1 million house. Put it this way, if it takes you 100 deals to make your money, it may take me 30 to 35, yet I'm probably going to wind up putting in the same amount of work you will with how difficult it is to get a transaction done here. Yeah,
no kidding, man. I mean, here in South Carolina, honestly, we're pretty easy, man. You fill out the blanks in the contract and you send it over, everybody initials off on it, goes to the attorney, goes to the lender, and then you're just, I mean, as an agent, sometimes I don't understand what other agents are talking about with contract to close. I mean, because once the contract gets everywhere it needs to go, I'm kind of waiting here. There isn't much for me to do. Make sure the inspection gets done and the appraisal gets done, and that's it. I mean, I could put an alert in my Google Calendar, and I'm on top of things.
It's ugly here. It's ugly. It's ugly. So just imagine dealing with an attorney, let alone a New York attorney, on every deal, and you got to deal with 2 of them, and then when you close, 4 attorneys show up to that closing. So.
Oh my God! Here, typically the buyer and the seller have their own attorney, and everybody closes separate. I mean, in 12 years, I've had maybe 5 deals where everybody was at the same closing table.
Yeah, it's a disaster. But yeah, so that's pretty much like the cluster F of what I do here. So.
well, man. So like lead sources right now. I mean, we see you calling expireds. Are you actually cold calling or circle prospecting around?
Right now, what my day looks like, I do have my virtual ISA. I've actually I've been much more focused. So what my day looks like is I get on the phone between 7:45 to 8 o'clock in the morning. I call the brand new expireds for the day, which here can be anywhere between 2 and 15. All right. Then what I do is I call the new for sale by owners for the day. Then I do my whatever follow-ups need to be done, then which you and I both use. If there's any Z-buyer leads that come in, I use those. Then depending on what's going on, I will go back. And then I go back to my expired 30-day list. Then depending on how much time I have, I'll either go into expireds or for sale by owners. My ISA, half of his day is calling expireds, half of his day is calling circle prospecting. And I'm actually just ordered... I ordered enough farming pieces to cover a 1,571 home location twice a month for 6 months. I've prepaid in advance, so I'm adding farming onto what I'm doing as well.
Wow. So typically, how long are you personally making calls a day, from 7:45 till what time?
Anywhere between, dependent on what's going on, a minimum of 2, a maximum of 3. And then if I have time throughout the rest of like in the afternoon and when I get my free time, that's when I do my follow-up. Because lead generation time really needs to be cultivating new business, and your follow-up can be done later on in the day. So. Yeah,
I do that too, man. I try to get in 3 hours a day.
Yeah.
Here lately, though, I've had a tough time with my schedule. I end up getting distracted. I'm just so busy, and I'm just so busy with stuff. It seems like I think every closing I've had here this month, it's been a problem. It's just been problem after problem. But so you've got a virtual ISA. So what, they just make calls for you? That's it?
I mean, I pretty much trained them down really well. I've used a virtual ISA for the last 3 years. What I look at them to be is they are pipeline fillers. The intent of them is not to get listing appointments or consultations, which they get for me, which is cool. Yet their main thing is to create opportunities for me to then follow up on. So that way, what happens is I don't need to make the 100 phone calls to get those 5 people to raise their hand. All I have to do is call those 5 people that raise their hand.
That's awesome, man. I've been thinking about doing that same thing. I've kind of looked at it and I've talked to several companies. Are you using a company or is it somebody you hired on your own?
I'm using Virtual People Solutions with Jasmine Ramirez. Remind me, and I'll connect you with her because she's awesome. I've went through many companies. She's the real deal. So I would definitely speak with her.
Yeah, I've been looking. My thing I want to do is I want to start calling more of the old expires again.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of my problem lately is we have anywhere from 5 to 25 new expireds a day. And just my business, once I switched offices, my business changed. And so, some of my calling has changed. Anyway, then I've added new lead sources. I'm using ZBuyer, and ZBuyer makes me lazy. I don't know if it does you like that.
I don't get as much. I get enough with where I'm at with ZBuyer where I'll get 3 to 4 deals a year out of it, which more than anything pays for itself. So I don't get a ton, but, to get 1 deal a quarter for $200 a month is well worth it for me. So.
I'm paying a little bit more than that. I'm paying about $350, but I got 2 counties, and I'm getting about 25 leads a month, I would say. And then I've just been kind of hammering those old ones, calls, texts, and emails. And, man, I get, some days it just makes me really lazy, man. If I start doing ZBuyer first, I am not going to make my other calls.
You can't do your ZBuyers first, man. You can't do your ZBuyers first. So.
Dude, I'm going to call 20, 25 people because I probably got 800 or 900 in the old backlog.
Yeah.
I'll call 20, 25. I'll text them. I'll get a couple texts back. I'll set a couple appointments. And then I'm going, I got my 2 appointments for today. I don't need to call no more. Go off into the world.
See, here's
what I end up doing.
Here's what I'll tell you, and this is, you're a good agent, but this is kind of what I've learned, and, this is one of these things where it's like, once you figure out, why you're doing it, okay, whatever your why is, all right, I don't know what your why is. I know what my why is. I have kids, and I can get into a whole story that'll probably make me start crying, so I'm not going to do that because I'm in a good mood today. But it all comes back to your why. And the thing is that let's say, right off the bat, I get 2 appointments, and I'm like, yes. Then I go look at a picture of my kids, and I'm like, I need to sit on the phone because I'm doing the lead generation for them. And the thing is that once you realize why you're doing your lead generation, like I always say, our career is real estate, yet our job is lead generation. So once you figure out why you're doing it, it's like, I got to do it because otherwise, for me, my kids don't eat. And what's going to happen is, let's say today I get 3, I may get nothing for the rest of the week. So it's like I can't chef that time. I'm so committed to doing it, and I think that's where people struggle, is that you don't have to be the best at all. You just have to be the most consistent.
Yeah, I agree with that. Even if you're really bad on the phone, you're going to get one every now and then. The problem I see most people have is they lie to themselves. They say, I've been making calls every day. Well, yeah, they made calls for 15 minutes every day. They just didn't call enough, The people not getting results or making calls are probably the people not calling. Or they're the people that are procrastinating. They got 10 expired and they feel like they got to look them all up and do CMAs before they dial the first number. Where they should be dialing numbers and then figuring out the details of what the property's worth later.
Exactly. And the thing is that people, just the first thing I do when I get here is I'm on the phone. The first thing I do, I've prepped everything ahead of time. I use Vulcan 7 for my data, it's what I've used. My data is all prepped before I walk in, so when I walk in at 7:45, the first thing I do is pick up the phone. I don't prepare. I just get on. And the issue that most people have is that it takes 10,000 hours to become a master of something.
Yep.
And for me, I calculated I have maybe called 1,600 hours worth of expired. So I'm 8,400 hours short of becoming a master. Yet people call for 3 hours, say they didn't get everything, and they quit, and they wonder why. It's like, I'm okay, and I've been doing it for 1,500 hours. You've been doing it for 3 hours, and you wonder why you suck. So.
Oh, yeah, man. I have people that compare their results to mine, and I go, guys, I've been doing this for 12 years, and when the real estate market sucked, I was making the same calls, and instead of looking for listings, I was looking for rentals. I mean, and dude, there were lots of 6 and 8 hour days in there. You know what I mean? Where it was like, hey, I got to get something listed. You know what I mean? I got to get something going on. And because I've been just like everybody else, I've had years that were amazing, and then I've had years that it was like, ooh, should I be looking at the help wanted ads?
But see, then it all comes back down what I'll say. I'll bring it back. It all comes down to why you're doing it. And your why needs to be bigger. Your why needs to weigh on you heavier than that phone does. And the why needs to bring you to a point of where, like, my why is so big where the phone doesn't even matter. You can tell me whatever you want. It doesn't matter because my why is so big I'm going to push through it. Like, that's where you have to get to a point. And my thing is, because I go around and teach a fair amount, is that the people that aren't doing it, they haven't defined their why.
Yep, I agree with that. Tony Robbins has a thing. He talks about fear and, you know, why some people are successful and some people aren't. And it's both reasons are because of fear. Either they're scared to go out and do something they know is going to do better or make their lives better, or they're scared not to go out and do something because if they don't do it, their life isn't going to be better. So, I mean, fear is a motivating factor on both sides of things.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think agents do that. A lot of them say they want it, but they don't really want it. So, man, I've got something I want to go back to real quick that you said about ISAs. So, because you know, I see this stuff posted a lot. So, how are you compensating your ISA?
They get paid hourly, and then I pay them a bonus. It's a tiered bonus per listing. The per listing consultation that I actually go on. Okay, so it's a tiered bonus. So what happens is they get a certain amount from 1 through 4, another one from 5 to 8, and then if they hit 8, they get paid more. So they're motivated to get me more. So my suggestion is, whether you're hiring in-house or out-of-house, is that you can only pay on what they have the ability to do. They can only send you on the appointment, on a qualified appointment. If you don't get the appointment, it's not their fault. Yet if you motivate them on a sliding scale basis, it gives them the motivation to get more rather than to stay stagnant. So
that makes sense. And I mean, I've heard some people talk about that they're recording their ISA's calls. Are you doing that too? Are you recording their call?
I use Seize the Market. So with Seize the Market, every one of their calls are recorded, so I can go back and listen to every one of their calls. And knowing they're virtual, it's very good for them to know that I can go listen to them whenever I want to.
So they're actually using basically your dialer.
Yeah, they use my dialer. They use I could get into Seize the Market for like an hour here, but it's an amazing program that pretty much the dialer talks to the database talks to the dialer. It's got a front-end website. It's like everything you need that has one login. Like, you run your entire business. It records all the phone calls. It tracks how many calls are being made. It tracks like everything. It was created by an agent in Jacksonville. She's one of the smartest people I know, so.
That's pretty cool, man. I mean, you got a lot of stuff to talk about. God, I could talk to you for 2 or 3 hours. I mean, I'm kind of simple. Like, I'm really low tech. A lot of that's just because I got really burnt out running a team, and you know, I felt like some days I was spending more time updating my database with stuff than I was actually making calls to the database. You know, I just kind of felt like I was busy doing busy work. And I mean, this is even having an assistant, and I've been through a bunch of assistants. Sometimes I've had assistants that I felt made me less productive. You know, they were counterproductive the whole process. But man, you also do consulting. You do all kind of stuff, don't you?
I mean, I've gotten away from the consulting because I'll just be straight, is what I found is that people want immediate return on their investment. So the reality of it is, I've done consulting. I've consulted with 30 people There are people that haven't shown up for the phone calls. There are people that said I got what I needed in 30 days. There are people that said I didn't get what I needed in 30 days. So I kind of have like a 90-day system that I've put together that only 2 people went through it. Only 2 people out of the 30 actually stuck with me for 90 days. And on the dot, by their 3rd month, both of them picked up 2 expired listings. So what I've created now is an expired mastery course, which is pretty much like a group coaching thing where it gives you everything that I've done. It basically breaks down the 90-day process into 30 days. You get a lot of cool stuff like my 150-point editable marketing plan. You get all my scripts, all my dialogues in video and text format. And we're booked up for November. I currently have like 6 slots available for December. And yeah, it's, I'm pretty excited about it. So it's $500 for the thing. And it's expiredmasterycourse.com. So
expiredmasterycourse.com, man. Well, man, I don't want to keep you all day, even though I could spend all day with you. You know, I wish you'd come down to Myrtle Beach and spend the weekend and let me just like ask you tons of questions and pick your brain constantly about how you're going to get to $100 million. Because that's an amazing goal to have.
You know, here's what I will say though, where I'm at, it only takes 200 houses to do that. So it's just the amount of work will be the same, but the way that I look at it is there's no reason why with knowing what, I shouldn't even say this, not knowing what I know, the work ethic that I have and the reason that I'm doing it, there's no reason why $100 million is unattainable.
How much do you think, you're going to have to hire other agents? What kind of profit margin do you think you'll have on these other agents getting to $100 million?
You know what, man? I have no idea.
It's just a number goal. It's just not a monetary goal.
All that I know, is that when I make $350,000, I can live comfortably. Okay, in New York, that's comfortably. Anything above that means I can start saving. So at $100 million, what's that? $2.5 million, right?
Yeah.
My wife said if I do that, I better be netting $1 million. Otherwise, she's going to kick my ass. So. I remember 12 years ago when I graduated college, I looked around at all my friends and stuff that were, getting jobs. So this is one of the reasons I got into the real estate business was, man, they were getting jobs making like $25,000, $30,000 a year. In my first year, I said, hey, if I can just make $50,000, I've made it. That's all the money I'll ever need is $50,000 a year. Now you look at $50,000 and man, that's, things have changed in 12 years. But it's never enough. Now $100,000 was good. Then you need $250,000. Then $250,000 is not good enough. It's like when you stretch that rubber band out, man, there's no going back. And at the end of the day, I mean, I do it, but yeah, I want to be able to do what I want. But right now,
sure.
And then we can kind of go on this note, is I'm in a position right now where I have to choose between taking my son to Disney World or paying off debt.
Yeah.
I don't want to make that choice. I don't ever want to have to make that choice. My kid's going to Disney World because the debt will wait, but I never want to have to make that choice again. That's what I work for, I
understand. That's amazing, man. Well, I really appreciate you doing this call with me. I feel like there's a ton of stuff. I got to go back and listen to it myself, and then I'm gonna harass you with 100 more questions.
It's all good, baby. You can call me anytime you want.
I appreciate it, man. We'll have to do a follow-up one because I'm going to have a bunch of questions after I listen to it again and make some notes. And I told a couple other agents I was doing this with you, and they sent me all their questions, and I said, dude, I don't think I have time for this. But I really appreciate it, man. I'm going to end the call now. So would you like to give them your website, or how can they get in touch with you if they want to know more about you? And
the best thing I can tell you is I know you have a Facebook group, so I'm not trying to take away because I think what you're doing is good. It's a lot more intimate, but the easiest way to get me is to go on the Facebook group, is to find me on Facebook. I don't want to take away from your group. Is it okay if I share this one?
Do.
Okay.
Yeah, share it, man.
Okay. It's Facebook.com/groups/got Objections, just like Got Milk. So Facebook.com/group/Got Objections, and you can watch me live and some other people live, and we do all kinds of fun stuff. So
that's awesome, man. Well, I'm in the call now. Hang on just a second.